My son mocked me at the wedding I paid for, until the bride's father grabbed the microphone, triggering an explosion of outrage from the guests. Crystal light caught his grin while laughter skittered across linen. I kept my hands flat, a bar receipt heavy in my pocket. Rage is noisy, proof is heavier. Reinforced voice cut the music. A farmer, me, mortgaged acres to save his company. The room pivoted hard, and my son's smile broke under 200 stares. Ditch. My hands may be rough, but my word is smooth as a signed check. I pulled the gate chain through the top rung and listened for the clean click. Cattle settled into a restless chew, tails switching at flies. The printer on my desk spit out one last sheet, white against wood gone gray from years of elbows. I folded the bill of sale to show the corner with the date and brand mark, slid it into my wallet, and closed the snap. Uncle Jim's truck rumbled up the lane. He leaned out the window, eyebrow up at my pressed shirt. "Big night," he said. "Boy's getting married," I said. "Go, then don't let 'em make you small. Manage." He eyed the barn. "You call the bank back?" Discharged. The feed store bell clanged as I stepped in for a last-minute shirt press kit. Starch hung in the air like a dare. "Ed," the owner said, running items over the scanner, "you headed to that fancy hotel?" Suppressing. "That's the plan. City folks in tuxes," he grinned. "Hope they remember who paid. Scheme 'em. In signin' for the long land, we're headin' big star. And that's what we Supreve book is the sign's ability. A different beautiful things, ask way. Even, we meant to provide in any long. In signs these own worth in your housing. A being a dom, and that seems I the glasses approach you, and I did not know story living down. Keep it short tonight. Short doesn't mean empty, just don't ramble. I will say the thank you and sit down. I opened my calendar. Loan renewal due, September 1st. 7 days isn't much when you measure time by feed runs and invoices. I breathed once, slow. I've mended fences with baling wire. Today, I'll use my voice, I told myself. Then corrected it. I'll use my paperwork. The farm dog nosed my knee and sighed. I set the pressed shirt on the bed, smoothed the collar, and checked my wallet. Bill of sale, corner peeking like a quiet spine. The sun slid across the floorboards, warm and square. I called the loan officer and caught voicemail. "This is Edward Walker. Documents are in order. I'll have updated cash flow and the cattle sale recorded. Call me if you need anything else." I ended it before I added more. The phone chimed, new voicemail from the bank. I put it on speaker and set it on the dresser while I buttoned my cuffs. Static, then the tidy voice I knew by now. "We got your message, Mr. Walker. We'll need updated cash flow. Call before Monday." I looked at the shirt, at my hands, at the scuffed wallet. Selling cows was easy. Selling pride hurt. I slid the phone into my pocket and picked up my keys. The planner's office smelled like eucalyptus and ink. Frames of smiling couples lined the wall, each with a line about, "Your story, elevated." Jason fit here. I stood 1 pace off the rug's edge. Boots clean, but clearly boots. "Mr. Walker," the planner said, clasping both my hands as if I were a donor. "We're thrilled you're helping create a seamless experience." She slid a folder across the glass desk. "Catering, venue, band deposit. This consolidates it." I said. Jason leaned back in the chair, drawling easy, one ankle on his knee. "We're going modern rustic, no mason jars though. We don't want kitsch." "I wasn't going to suggest jars," I said. "I was going to suggest wider aisles so older guests can pass." The assistant swept in with a tray. "Sparkling for Jason," she said, placing a chilled glass in front of him, encircling me with a paper cup from the water cooler. Condensation beaded on his glass. My cup went soft at the rim. Jason flicked a glance, pleased. "Dad, the planner has layout handled." The planner smiled professionally. "We can widen aisles if it fits the aesthetic," I said. A metal case sat half open on a side table. A handheld microphone lay inside on foam cut to fit. The planner tapped it with a polished nail. "We use this for final run-throughs. Keeps people on track," she laughed. "Light. Unless there's a barn dance, then all bets are off." "A dance or two?" I said. "Great," Jason said quickly. "But we'll keep remarks tight. We don't want folks going long." The planner clicked to a screen and spun the monitor my way. Here's the catering invoice. Since you're covering it, I'll mark paid by Edward Walker on the payer line and generate a receipt. I took out my checkbook and wrote steady. The pen dragged just a little at the start of my last name, like the paper wanted to keep it. She tore the check free, slid it into a clear sleeve, and typed. Bathrooms, the desk glass, my phone buzzed. Uncle Jim's name rolled across the display. I let it go to missed call. The assistant set my paper cup closer to the edge where my sleeve might knock it off. The sparkling water popped on Jason's tongue. The planner printed, signed, and stacked. Funds accepted, she said brightly. She stamped the folder. The assistant handed Jason a cloth napkin for photos and handed me nothing. I said, could I see the payer line again? I want to be sure you spelled Walker right. The planner turned the page back with 2 fingertips. Paid by Edward Walker. Sat on the line. Simple as fence wire. I lifted my phone like I was checking a text and took one photo. Just the header and the payer line, no numbers. The shutter sound was off. I tucked the phone into my shirt pocket and looked up at ceiling molding as if that's what had my attention. Seating, I said. Please don't put Great Aunt Marie near the speakers. Exhaled through his nose. We'll handle placements. You can just enjoy, Dad. Unleashed, when people can hear. Cleared her throat. We'll place older guests toward the back, where the volume is less intense. She looked at Jason for a nod before finishing the sentence. The planner slid a vellum sheet across to Jason. Speech order, groom, maid of honor, best man, and a contingency window. She kept her voice warm but firm. We prefer not to add more. Undermine very minutes, I said, just to say thank you. Eats 5, Jason said with a grin. We don't want a lecture on cow feed. Prominent smile tightened. We find guests prefer momentum. I let the words sit. The assistant set a binder down with a thud, then handed Jason a fountain pen to initial each box. When she reached my side of the desk, her hand paused, unsure if I merited a pen. I pulled my own from my pocket and signed where they needed a payer's initials. I sat back, invisible in a room I had paid to enter. I breathed once and kept my tone flat. Make sure the aisle's wide, that's all from me. Polished shoe flashing. We're going clean, minimalist, no farm notes. Good news, I said. Respect pairs with anything. The assistant gathered the papers, then leaned toward Jason and the planner like a microphone had gone live and needed guarding. I stacked my paper cup in the trash and tugged at the cuff I'd ironed that morning until the crease laid flat again. We stood. The planner extended her hand to Jason first. Everything's on track, she said, loud enough to be heard by the staff near the door. We'll keep the program light. I reached for the folder. The assistant held it a second longer than necessary before letting go. At the threshold, Jason bent toward the planner, his voice pitched for her ear and not mine. The room was quiet enough that it carried anyway. Don't let him bore the Andersons. Her eyes flicked past me to the framed couples on the wall. She didn't answer. The band's last chord hung like ribbon over glass and silver. The MC smiled at the head table. Please welcome our groom. Sienna slid along the wall with her rig, easing to a cleaner angle. The camera gave a soft servo hum. Holding for time code, she breathed as she passed me, eyes on the stage. Jason rose in the middle of applause, tucks sharp, grin sharper. He palmed the stand microphone and did a little test, like he was born with a stage in his pocket. The MC stepped back. On Sienna's rig, the red tally light came on and stayed steady. First, Jason said, huge thanks to my dad for footing half the bill. He shot a finger gun at me. Only a farmer sells cows to pay for a wedding and calls it a portfolio move. Laughter. A few guests slapped tables like they discovered a new sport. I lifted my water and didn't drink. That's enough, I said, low. He heard me and smiled wider. Relax, Dad, sit down, don't ruin the vibe. Sienna knew confidence in it. Uncle Jim's hand brushed my elbow, the stay-put touch he'd used since I was 20 and hot-headed. Jason paced the stage like he owned the room, which for the next 5 minutes he did. We have some of Dad's friends here, he said, nodding toward the older tables, so I'll keep this simple. Tonight we are not discussing tractor maintenance or the exciting world of hay bales. A banker peer snorted. Someone whistled. The red light held solid. He went for the story I knew he'd save for when he could make it hurt. When I was 16, he said, Dad forgot to lock a gate. We spent weeks chasing cows across half the county. That's farm management 101. My mentor, ladies and gentlemen? The laugh this time rolled, bigger, like the first set of the evening was finally landing. I want you to stage the— Ha! He lifted his palm and made a calming motion toward me, still on the mic, still smiling.
He's a good sport, folks. Don't worry. He knows I'm kidding.
I didn't nod. Edward Walker didn't nod at lies. Sienna's lens stayed fixed, a quiet witness. I could see a sliver of the DJ's monitor from my seat. Nothing readable to a guest, just the slow march of a program ticking forward. The room had that soft, perfumed heat that comes from too many bodies and a story told for all the wrong reasons. Jason angled his body toward a table of young men in suits.
Hey, team,
He said,
if Dad starts workshopping spreadsheets later, smile and tell him he's crushing it. He thinks balancing a tractor ledger makes him a banker.
Their laughter was right on cue. A bridesmaid covered her mouth like she'd tried to catch hers and missed. Uncle Jim leaned nearer.
You want me to?
No, I said. He's working. Let him finish.
Can do.
Jim said and sat back with his jaw square on my side. Jason raised his glass. To hard work, he said, and smarter choices. He held the pause. In that order, Dad. The toast clinked around him. He started to pivot away from me, then pivoted back for one more. Just kidding, he added, which was the lie that told the truth. I stood then because standing was all the dignity available. I smoothed the crease of my jacket, looked at my son, and put 2 fingers on the back of my chair to keep the rest of me from moving. Jason, I said, barely above the orchestra's hum. That's enough. Into the mic, still smiling for the crowd, he said, Relax, Dad. The word relax, the command of men who've already taken what they came for, landed harder than the jokes. I sat again because walking out would hand him the ending he wanted. The MC edged toward him, a note card ready, but Jason gestured that he had it. He told a final line about 4-H meetings and cow feed lectures, and this time he got the laugh he'd been angling for from the bride's side. I didn't check to see if she laughed too. Some things I let stay unknowable. The applause rose, the red tally light didn't blink. Sienna didn't look at me. Working people respect the job in front of them. She panned to catch the greetings and the back slaps as Jason handed the mic off like a man coming down a parade ladder. Uncle Jim started to rise. I laid 2 fingers on his sleeve and he stopped. The sound returned to clinking forks and cymbal brushes. My own breath took a beat to steady. I would not break here. I would not give him that. I took a napkin and folded at once the clean line a private task I could finish. Across the room, Robert Anderson set his glass on the linen and closed his hand over the spare microphone at his table. He didn't lift it. Not yet. The foyer smelled like citrus cleaner and hot lamps. Sienna eased her rig onto a rolling stand and checked her battery readouts. I'll need your email, she said. After delivery, I can send a watermark still with my license number and time code. Affidavit on Monday. Works, I said. Names in the subject line. Ida contact into her phone. Got you. Unleashed. The event planner pivoted toward me, a smile like a velvet rope. Mr. Walker, the stage corridor is congested. Let's keep guests in the foyer. I'm staying out here, I said. Lent. Clipboard snap. And please avoid requesting additions. It's a tightly timed show. I'm not requesting, I said. I'm recording. Flushed her lashes lowered a sliver. Our team is recording. Team is making a video, I said. I'm making a record. Sienna pretended to study a cable. The planner's perfume drifted like a warning. She tipped the clipboard toward her chest, then face down, as if a page might try to escape. A banquet runner pushed a cart by. A spare microphone lay in a foam cradle on the lower shelf. Green tape with a letter on the stem. It passed within reach, then the cart turned the corner and it was gone. My phone buzzed. Jason, don't corner people. Me, I'm not making a scene. I'm making a record. Stop. Me, stop what? Jason, just stop. Sienna glanced at the screen and looked away, professional as a bailiff. I'll email the still as soon as I offload card, she said. No raw until delivery, company policy. Paralyzed policy keeps it clean, I said. Thank you. Provoked nodded once. The kind that goes in a mental ledger. The planner reappeared, about to move to salads. Please return to your table, she said to the air, but her eyes landed on me. Toasts follow immediately. Unrestricted the red tally light from 10 minutes ago, and the way the laugh had swelled twice, then 3 times. If they won't lend me a voice, I'll borrow their paperwork, she added.
I'm working, I said. She paused, smile still pinned. On what? On remembering. Uncle Jim ghosted past, handed me a folded place card with the caterer's main line written on the back. In case you need a name, he said. Appreciate it. Breathe, he added, and drifted back into the room. The doors to the ballroom opened for servers with trays. The MC's voice rose on the other side, bright as a TV anchor. I slid Sienna's contact into my phone, double-checked the spelling, and kept my thumbs off any send button I might regret. The planner guided a late guest towards seats. Then she bent to her clipboard one more time. I watched her flip it face down like a trap sprung without a sound. The cart reappeared, wheels squeaking. The spare mic rode past again, this time with a coil of gaffer tape lying across it like a strap. It kept rolling, right out of reach. The service corridor felt 10 degrees warmer than the ballroom, a breath of fryer oil and coffee. A clipboard leaned against a metal prep table where the catering manager guarded her laptop like it was a till. I can't give you originals, she said, polite but brisk, but I'll email the invoice that shows paid by Edward Walker. That's all I need, I said. Uncle Jim planted himself at my shoulder, hat in his hands like a shield. 2 minutes and we're out of your hair. A line cook stuck his head out from the kitchen pass. Manager, vendor portal's timing out. I grimaced. Of course it is. To me. If I wait for the portal, it'll be tomorrow. I'll send the PDF directly from our workstation. Fine. Footsteps clicked. Jason slid through the staff door, smooth as ever, eyes on my phone. Still auditing dinner? He said, smile aimed at the room. Just confirming who said grace, I said. It's a bar, Dad. I paid the tab. Since, the laugh that wasn't there, then drifted back toward the ballroom, the tails of his jacket catching the corridor breeze. The manager typed, Email? The file typed the subject line aloud. Invoice, paid by Edward Walker, and hit send. A printer in some office down the hall coughed and fell silent. Confiscated Uncle Jim leaned in, voice low. 2 lines, remember. Thank the families. Done. I remember. My phone vibrated. Inbox. Invoice. Paid by Edward Walker. PDF. The header pane filled the screen, the words clean as a brand on a calf. I didn't open it here. I didn't need to. Dignity isn't a speech, it's a ledger that balances. Got it, I said, thank you. I thumbed a quick screenshot of the header. No numbers, just the subject, and slid the phone back into my pocket. The countdown widget blinked when the lock screen returned. Loan renewal, September 1, 7 days. I let it sit on the glass a second so the weight of it could do its work. Tage, Uncle Jim grinned. First nail in the board. Plenty of board left, I said. The manager tore a card from a stack and handed it over. If anyone questions the payer line, tell them Mary Ann sent it. That's me. Mary Ann. Noted. I photographed the card so I couldn't lose a name to sweat or time. A runner hustled past with a tray. On it rode a wireless microphone, battery taped, ready for the band. It rolled by my hand and kept going, like voice on wheels headed somewhere else. The corridor cooled by a degree as the kitchen door swung, throwing a brief draft across our sleeves. At the far end, a banker peer strolled by, not quite looking at me until the phone buzzed again. Another email, a calendar reminder. His eyes flicked to my screen and caught the subject line in that instant before it dimmed. He smirked, tapped a text with 2 thumbs, and slid his phone into his pocket without breaking stride. Tosh side stage corridor was cooler than the ballroom, a tunnel of black drape and taped cables. A security reader blinked beside the door. 2 minutes to say thank you, I told the guard, showing my wristband. He scanned it. Beep, read.
Speakers only, he said. You're not on the slate. Then put me on. Programs locked. The microphone on stage glowed through the cracked door, a thin halo at the edge of light. I could have stepped forward and found the stand by memory. I stayed where I was. My phone buzzed. Jason. I took the call with the guard listening. You're not speaking, Jason said, voice low and crisp. Full stop. That, I said. S me on my wedding night. Wouldn't dream of it. He hung up first. The guard shifted his weight. Sir, I'm asking you to return to the floor. Rules are rules, I said, until someone reads them aloud. He touched his radio. Keep stage corridor clear. I stepped back to the terrace door and let it swing open on night air and clinking ice. Robert Anderson stood alone looking in at the stage. He didn't wave me over. I asked for 2 minutes, I said. He kept his eyes on the door's slit of light. Sometimes 2 minutes break a night, he said. Sometimes they fix one. Amplified, which is this? He didn't answer. I leaned on the rail and watched a server snake past us with flutes. Years back, I mortgaged acres to float a neighbor's payroll. Paper over pride, signature over talk. The memory was 2 lines long and cost me more than tonight's bar bill. Imprisoned my phone. A banner rolled across the top. Docs due August 29th, 5 p.m. A clock that didn't care for chandeliers. The event staffer from earlier appeared in the corridor, headset tight. Sir, I need this space clear. I'm clear. Trolley, then please stay clear. She nodded at the reader as if it could learn manners. I'll say thank you for my table, I said. That would be appreciated. Kinsing the door to the stage bring them applause. The mic gleamed for a moment like something you could grab if you forgot who owned it. Mr. Walker, the guard said softer now, I can walk you back. I know the way. I let the door fall mostly closed and stood with Robert one more breath. He lifted his glass. Ice ticked like a small metronome. You heard the jokes, I said, nodded once. I'm not breaking in there, I said. Good, he said, don't. Held frustration sat heavy, but it didn't spill. I turned from the slit of light and started back toward the foyer, the microphone still lit, still reachable, just not for me. The coat check corner was a pocket of quiet, just the hiss of air through a vent and the zippery murmur of dresses brushing by. I laid the folder on a waist-high ledge, spine toward the wall. Let's make this tidy, I said. One look, then it goes away. Uncle Jim angled himself so his shoulder gave me cover. Sienna stepped in, camera clipped to a strap now, hands empty and steady. Robert stood a half pace off, eyes on us, not the room. I flipped the folder open just enough that the headers showed invoice, paid by Edward Walker, transfer confirmation, bill of sale. No numbers, no codes, just the names like road signs. Paper stands longer than applause, Jim said. Sienna nodded. I'll send a watermark still with license and time code once I deliver the full cut. Affidavit Monday. Submissive line with your name, I said. Exactly. Hybrid's gaze flicked over the headers and back to my face. He didn't smile, but something unclenched. You've done your homework, he said. I've done my job, I said. A walkie crackled. The floor manager swept around the coat check post, headset snug, all efficiency. Folks, we can't have groups loitering here, she said, voice pitched to end things. Please return to your tables. Lam, will be 2 minutes, I said, calm. Tage 2 minutes becomes 5, she said, eyeing the open folder. Then I'll use 1, I said. She held my stare the way a gate holds a steer's first try. The walkie hissed again. Someone said, copy. She exhaled. 1 minute, she said, and moved on. I pinched the folder a little wider so Sienna could see the headers clearly, then closed it flat. We're good, she said. I saw what I needed to see without seeing too much. Uncle Jim grinned at that. That's called discipline. Robert's voice stayed low. If this turns into a fight, the crowd needs to understand why you didn't raise your voice. Because I raised papers, I said. Jason materialized like a reflection, catching us between the ledge and the flow of guests. He glanced at the folder, then at my hands.
Collecting souvenirs, he said, smile turned to the room so no one could call it a sneer. Returning what's mine, I said. What's that? The room. He laughed, small and mean. You don't own rooms, Dad. I own my name on receipts. Jason's eyes cut to Sienna. You filming this? She met his look. I don't film coat checks, she said. Neutral, professional. He leaned in, voice for us alone. You brought cattle paperwork to a ballroom? That's embarrassing. I kept my voice level. I brought proof to a room that mistook laughter for truth. He rolled his eyes like a teenager trying on a $19 attitude in a rented tux and pushed off the ledge with 2 fingers moving on. The floor manager glanced back, saw we hadn't grown roots and let us be. I pulled my phone out and thumbed a sticky note to the home screen. August 29 docs, September 1st renewal. I set it where I'd see it each time the glass woke up. Monday's affidavits, Sienna said, like a promise between contractors. I said. Robert shifted his weight, a thoughtful pause. If I speak, he said, it will be because paper deserves a voice. Understood. Actually shared a history in Chris Durmax. And John search allowers that they're one chauffeur. And John serve a word while we're going in the mutiations. They're having some lady side texts in distancy to share the one herdery and need. After totally the filsing by time to score, and after day, made be Bob. Walker is called Dast on the early system score on the American plastication. On lines of the R's, and our heddles from never watching them, and then close as a partner season. Walker, I want you to the window metalize, and use sound. In your party, this must to be self and armadagratic that. Well lucked, and you need quality on the pass. Our weight 9 of 690,000, as still notice, in the part of all the color in a sec to sell my father, that's my back and our story you're away to stow. To sigh we revealing our neck. I slid into a chair and woke the screen. My phone buzzed on the desk as if it wanted first say. I ignored it long enough to type my email address in a draft, habit from years of sending myself field notes before they blew away. Strite, stuttered, and threw a paper jam tantrum. The manager popped the top and snapped plastic back into place. We're at 70% tonight, she said. Don't count on hard copies. Recognize, I'm fine digital. Card, set crooked by the commotion, and straightened it. Do not copy IDs. Footsteps stitched the marble. Jason drifted in on those shoes you buy when you need compliments to arrive from the floor up. He leaned an elbow on the ledge. You setting up a home office in here? Sending a receipt. He glanced at my phone like it belonged to him. It won't matter. None of this gets a mic. My phone lit. A notification strip slid across the top. Loan officer, docs, due August 29, 5 p.m. On the time sat there in clean text and then retreated to the lock screen. I tapped the banner to save the thread and kept my voice even. It matters to the bank. Jason smiled as if I'd told a kindergarten joke. We'll see. Staupel, the manager, closed the printer lid with a plastic snap. Computer will log you out in 5 minutes, she said. Timer's automatic. That's plenty, I said. I tapped the screen, added one line to my draft. Invoice received. Video still pending. Sienna affidavit Monday. Then sent it to myself. A breadcrumb trail laid in plain English. Jason perched on the arm of a lobby chair, all angles and ownership. You done sneaking around service hallways? It looks needy. It looks thorough. Flexi stood. Thorough is what you do when you don't have charisma. Him a rise, progress, but thin, one text between me and the edge. I pocketed the phone like it was a tool, not a talisman. Good chat, he said. He started away, then half-turned with a smirk. Seriously, none of this gets a mic. I looked past him at the ballroom doors. Music swelled and ebbed. Somewhere, a karaoke lounge bled a bad chorus into the lobby. A stray microphone squealed and went silent like a joke that forgot its punchline. Quietly, paper speaks without a mic, I said. He lifted a hand as if blessing me and walked off. I stood, thanked the manager, and left the printer to its blinking light. The night felt longer than the hallway to the elevators. I kept the phone warm in my palm, the text banner fresh in my head the way you remember a gate code.
The coat check alcove sat in a pocket of air conditioning beside the bar, close enough to hear the shaker tins, but far enough to see without being seen. The ballroom door thunked shut and left us in a hush with carpet underfoot. Stabilize unclipped her rig, palms free. I can swear to authenticity, she said. Time code, license, and an affidavit on Monday. Your name, I said. Standard, she said, and held out her hand. I shook it. Uncle Jim nodded like a foreman closing a gate. We saw the red light, he said. We're not blind. Good, Sienna said. I'm not hiding the light. I turned to the bar. Could I get a duplicate receipt for that last round? I asked the bartender. He punched the keys. The printer spit a small, glossy strip. He slid it to me face up. I framed the single thing I needed, the stamp 9:42 p.m., and took one photo. No totals, no codes, just the time. Clean. For once, someone promised to stand on paper beside me. I slid the receipt into my wallet behind the bill of sale and tapped my phone screen. Reminder set, August 29. Send docs. The letters sat there like fence posts in a new row. Two bank colleagues glided past the alcove, drawn by the bar. One cut a glance at my phone. Expense report photo op, he murmured to the other. Optimizing, the second said, amusement cheap and ready. They didn't stop. Their shoes skated the tile, laughter trailing. Jason barreled in on their wake, eyes already judging the shape of the room. Filming farmers won't impress bankers, he said, head tilt practiced. Good thing you're not my banker, I said. He stepped closer, voice pitched to bruise but not carry. You really think bar tabs and cow paperwork make you a statesman? I think truth doesn't need stage lighting, I said. It needs witnesses. His mouth didn't move, but her eyes did. I'll file Monday, she said, for all of us. Jason tried a different angle. Why involve outsiders? Because you disowned insiders, I said. He smirked like he'd chalked a win on a board only he could see. You won't last to Monday, he muttered, just for me. Sienna's fingers closed around my hand once, steady, not soft. Uncle Jim set his palm on my shoulder, a second weight that felt like yes. Take. On the other side of the coat room door, a stage microphone hummed through the wood, a faint electric thread. I let the sound pass through me and kept my voice level. We're done here, I said. Enjoy the bar. Jason stood a heartbeat too long, then peeled away toward his colleagues. The bartender wiped the counter like none of this touched his surface, which was its own kind of civility. I looked at the photo one last time, the clean 9:42 p.m., then locked my phone. The reminder sat waiting behind the glass. The band slid out of a brass run and let the last trumpet note hang like a ribbon. Glasses chimed, chairs scraped. The microphone at center stage glowed under a white halo while the sax player thumbed a reed. The band leader eased by our table, met my eyes, and tapped 2 fingers on his wrist. Set wraps at 10:30, he said, pitched for me. Mic handoff after, small window. The drummer's pad gave a soft click, click, as he set a tempo for the next number. The leader was gone before anyone could ask him for a request. I stood, not a speech, just height. Across the room, Jason popped up like he'd been sprung. Don't bore the Andersons with tractor math, he sang into the air, loud enough to earn the first giggle. I didn't take the bait. I set my phone on the table, thumbed it awake, and tilted it just enough that the screen faced the cloth and the people nearest me. No codes, no totals, just the subject line. Invoice, paid by Edward Walker, PDF. I let it sit a heartbeat and then let it go dark. Table cupped a hand to his mouth. He brought a spreadsheet to a dance, he stage whispered. Tighten better boots than hollow shoes, I said, not looking at him. Jason felt the room lean back his way and doubled down. He lifted a glass without a mic and still managed to sound mic'd. Folks, I promise there won't be a test on ledgers at the end of the night. Gentler than before, but still hungry. Silence weighs more than laughter, but I can carry it. I stayed standing until the noise resolved into forks again and then sat, slow. I'm thanking the families, I said to no one in particular. 2 lines. Dad, Jason called, we've got professionals for speeches. Good, I said. I'm a professional at paying my bills. He laughed, that short bark that counted how many people were watching. Cute.
I slid the phone back into my pocket and kept my hands visible on the linen. The microphone spotlight swept our way and then moved on like a lighthouse that didn't know our shore. "Could we get back to the party?" Jason said to the room. "My old man thinks showing email subjects is the same as charisma." "Charisma doesn't balance a bar tab," I said. A ripple moved through the banker cluster, some amusement, some discomfort. Robert watched it pass the way you watch wind cross a wheat field, checking which way the heads lean. Jason tried one more swing. "He's a farmhand in boots," he told his table, "and he thinks showing a subject line makes him a banker." I lifted my water. "No, it makes me honest." Hilaire, sensing the end of his beat, and grinned to the bride's side like a pledge of fun still to come. The band leader stepped to the stand mic, counted 1, 2, and music spilled again, putting a velvet rope between speeches and the rest of us. 10:30 ticked toward us with every chorus, a window I could almost feel in my palm. Jason leaned across 2 chairs, stage whispered to the banker peer. "He's not getting near that mic." I looked past him to Robert. He had one hand on his glass and the other resting near a spare mic parked on an AV stool, as if proximity alone could weigh a choice. He lifted his hand an inch, then stopped and let it fall back to the linen. Problem deferred. Meld like paper and lemon oil. Books lined the walls, spines squared. An unplugged desk microphone sat near the blotter, cord wound neat as a garden hose, voice available. Withheld. Sienna laid her bag by a wing chair. "I've drafted the affidavit language," she said. "Jurisdiction, license number, reference to original media, notary tomorrow, 2 o'clock. "Blackout," I said. "Keep it tight." Uncle Jim slipped in with 2 mugs. "Fuel," he said, setting one near me and one within Sienna's reach. He touched the folder with one finger, like tapping a fence post, short and steady. Then he tipped his chin to Robert and headed out. The door closed soft. Robert watched me over steepled fingers. "You asked for this meeting." I did. "Because?" "Forging signatures mean more than toasts." He nodded once, then pointed at the folder. "Show me the piece that makes you sleep at night." I opened it and lifted one sheet. Robert Anderson's letter of thanks, 25 years old, company letterhead clean, his signature block bold. I didn't read it aloud. I held it at eye level so the letterhead and signature sat square in view. Sienna leaned in just enough to confirm without intruding. "That will pair well with your on-mic statement if you choose to make one," she said. Robert's eyes didn't move from the page. "I wrote this when my company needed feed and a friend's faith," he said. "It wasn't charity." "It was a loan against my land," I said. He looked up. "You kept the letter." "I keep receipts." He set the page down like it was hot. "If I step forward publicly, I don't get to put this back in a drawer." "I'm not asking for speeches," I said. "I'm asking for truth with witnesses." Sienna slid a single printed page from her bag. Affidavit draft reads, "I, Sienna Ruiz, licensed videographer, certify that on August 26, 2023, between 7:10 and 7:20 p.m., I captured audio-video of remarks by Jason Walker." She let the sentence trail. "I won't notarize text here, but the structure is ready. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. And I flicked my phone awake and turned the screen so both could see the calendar square. "Notary, August 28, 2 p.m. Robert nodded toward it. "Satisfying deadlines. You always did like fences that close." "Fences keep cattle honest," I said. "Paper keeps people honest." Lean back. "What's your end game, Edward? Humiliate your son?" "No," I said. "Hold him to a standard I kept for him. If he refuses?" Flushing, then the room hears why I didn't. Sienna said, "Chain of custody will be clean. Watermark still after delivery. Affidavit, Monday. I'll bring my license and ID for the stamp." Bert tapped a knuckle on the blotter. "My daughter's night is not a courtroom." "The night's already broken," I said. "I'm trying to leave it standing." Silence held for a beat. The desk microphone reflected a thin line of window light. Robert reached and turned it a quarter inch. "Not to use, just to think." He breathed out. "All right, I will stand as a moral witness if called. I'll state what I know, that you lent me Lifeline feed when no bank would, and that respect is owed for that." "I'll ask nothing truer than that," I said.
Sienna zipped the draft back into her bag. I'll email final language by end of day, so you can read it once before the stamp. No edits at the counter. Understood. Robert rose, came around the desk, and took the letter again, this time with both hands. You may keep the original, he said. If I need to show it, I will bring a copy. That's fine. He returned to his chair and looked at me, not the paper. How far will you drag this? Prejudice. Far enough that he can't drag me anymore. Crimson rubbed his jaw. A father's tell. Jason won't let you reach that slot. Pocketed the phone, the appointment square bright for a second against my palm and then gone. The words hung between us like a clock with no numbers, only hands. The notary office had blinds that made noon feel like late afternoon. A cracked dictation microphone lay sideways by a stapler. Cord frayed, retired from speaking. Paper ruled here. IDs? The notary asked. Sienna placed her license in a neat stack. Affidavit text references August 26, between 7:10 and 7:20 p.m., my license number and the location, she said. Professional even. The front desk clerk leaned in the doorway. Heads up, scanner queue is slow, system lag. Add her first, the notary said without looking up. Scan after. Copy, the clerk said, and the copier fan started a dull whir. Lit when I checked the time. 2:11 p.m. The wall clock ticked like a pen, tapping a desk. The door chimed. Jason pushed in, jaw set. This is harassment, he told the air. You don't notarize lies. The notary didn't glance up. Sir, please wait in the lobby. Sienna kept her focus on the page. I, Sienna Ruiz, being duly sworn, depose and say, unfit. Sienna stepped closer. You can't certify a joke. Youth can't shout over a seal, I said. Tay pivoted it on me. Walk away, Dad. Walk straight, I said. The notary slid the journal closer. Sign within the box, she told Sienna. Print under. Sienna signed. Calm hands. Chain of custody. Meet a secured drive, delivery receipt to client, then watermark still to follow, she said for the record that wasn't being recorded. Jason laughed once. You two think paperwork changes what people saw? It preserves it, I said. The notary lifted the seal. Date is August 28th, she said to herself, aligned the round impression and pressed. The ink stamp kissed paper, held, and lifted. 2:14 p.m. on the office clock. Micro peak landed. Jason flinched at the sound he couldn't stop. You can't, sir, the notary said, finally looking up. You're interrupting a public service. Please step outside. He backed a half step, eyes on the fresh seal, then looked at his phone like it might offer a better universe. It didn't. Sienna slid the affidavit across. Scan and email to Mr. Walker, she said, a contractor giving a clear deliverable. The clerk returned. Laggy, but it'll go, she said, feeding the page. The machine groaned like an old gate and then settled into a steady feed. I opened my phone to the mail app. The screen showed a draft with the subject already keyed from last night. Affidavit, copy, Sienna. I held it ready to receive and forward. The spinner whirled once. Mr. Walker, the notary said, you'll get a PDF shortly. My commission number is on the seal if anyone needs to verify. Opulence, I said. He counter again. She works for you, that's bias, Sienna said, finally looking at him. It is an aside. He sneered. You film weddings. And depositions, she said, almost kind. He stared like he'd been handed homework. The door swung as another customer leaned in and the hall voices spilled a second of ordinary life into the room. Jason caught the glimpse of an audience and straightened his shoulders. The clerk checked the screen. Sending. Now. On my phone, the upload spinner turned once, then hesitated, the little circle thinking about whether it wanted to be a circle at all. Jason's voice came sharp from the hall as he stepped out, catching air. Tell your office this affidavit is junk. The door closed on the last consonant, leaving the room full of paper and quiet. Paper clicked louder than applause ever had. I kept my eyes on the spinner until it twitched again. Trembling air felt cooler than outside, but the light was hard. A number machine sat on a stanchion like a small judge. I tugged a ticket. The printer burped, spit too, and the clerk snatched one midair. "System burped," she said, tearing it clean with a serrated rip and tossing the extra. It skidded and landed against my boot. "Wait," I said. "That's the idea," she said, eyes already on the next person. To the TV on the wall scrolled interest rates, as if that were a fable with a happy ending. I checked my phone. "Sienna, boarding now, should land by Monday. We'll send watermarks still after delivery." Then a minute later, gate hold. I typed, "safe flight," and didn't send it. The bubble sat unsent like a word you can't afford to say. KKMADM name lit my screen. Voicemail. I listened in line, the speaker against my ear like a seashell. "Your documents are received, Mr. Walker. We have to place portions of your account in review. Expect an update by close of business tomorrow." No apology, just the soft authority of policy. "Number 73, the clerk called. I was 78. Polhone buzzed again. Jason had posted a clip, a still of me at a table, head bent over my phone, the microphone icon muted in the corner of his story. Caption: "When dad tries to hijack your wedding with receipts." Comments stack like fire ants. "Yikes, awkward. Let him speak at the farm." Bankers hate this one trick. The share count ticked up every time I blinked. I texted him one line: "Banks read receipts longer than feeds." He replied instantly, "Banks read vibes." A customer beside me tilted their phone, and I saw my own face reflected back from their screen. They turned it away when I looked up. 74, the clerk said. Clang. The cue shifted. I stepped forward. The discarded ticket fluttered, tapped my shoe, and stopped. I towed it aside and kept my hands still. Cornered but unbroken, paper won't speak if I do. My phone vibrated with the force of a decision. Email. Account review notice. I opened it. The header was plain, cruel in its plainness. Effective August 30th, 5 p.m. Funds related to ongoing review will be temporarily frozen pending verification. Contact your loan officer for details. Camouflage on the bank wall clock, 4:58 p.m. The email line, effective August 30th, 5 p.m. My body understood the 60 seconds faster than my head did. Tia lifted a hand toward the desk. "I need to speak to someone now." The clerk looked over her monitor. "You'll be called when it's your turn." "It becomes effective at 5, I said, tapping the line with one finger as if the glass could feel urgency. "That's in 2 minutes." She pursed her lips. "Your officer's on voicemail?" "Yes." "Then it's voicemail," she said. "Sir, please don't block the line." I stepped back into place. 4:59. A child across the room swung their feet under a chair and hit a scuff rhythm on the metal bar. The TV said something about community and partnership. 75, the clerk called. My phone lit with Sienna again. "We just got pushed back, flight delayed. I'm sorry. I'll deliver Monday no matter what." I typed understood and hit send before I could write anything that sounded like need. The email header still glowed on my screen. Effective August 30, 5 p.m. The seconds ticked toward it like a slow spill. 76. I called Uncle Jim. Voicemail. Road noise. Then his voice. "I'm 10 minutes out. Traffic." A horn bleated. The recording clipped the end, so coming turned into something like cumin. I hung up. 77. The wall clock hand moved with a tiny jump I could feel in my teeth. 5 p.m. A second buzz hit my hand hard enough to ache. SMS. Hold in place, with the same line below it. Effective August 30, 5 p.m. The app lit a red banner. The freeze was real now, not just theory. Abolished it once and let it out slow. "Now," I said, not loud, not to anyone, just to mark the moment. Blankets. 78, the clerk said. I stepped to the counter. "My account was frozen at 5, I said. I turned the phone so the effective time sat under her nose. She didn't touch the screen. "Then you're in review," she said. "There's a process." "Newell is due September 1st, I said. "Then stay in touch with your officer," she said. "We can't override a hold from here." A notification shaded the top of my phone. Jason again. The smear post count climbing. His storyline updating with a boomerang of him laughing with a cluster of suits. The little muted mic icon pulsed in the corner like a joke about oxygen. Is a manager available? I asked. They'll tell you what I'm telling you, she said. Review. You'll be notified. By when? Rebuilt. End of day tomorrow, she said. The promise of people who don't pay if promises break. I kept my voice flat. Please put a note that I presented in person before effective time and asked for a supervisor. She typed a single line or pretended to. Noted. Someone muttered, is that the dad from the Post? Another voice. Don't look. I took a step back from the counter so I wouldn't say anything I'd regret or anything they could use. The TV found a new photo of a smiling teller handing a kid a lollipop. I watched it the way you watch a fire you can't put out. Outside, the heat wrapped me like foil. I stood on the sidewalk with the sun finding the seam of my collar and looked at my phone again. Effective August 30, 5 p.m. at the top. Sienna. Flight delayed below. And under that, Jason's smear gathering little blue thumbs like confetti. Paralyzed will speak. Monday. I have to make it to Monday. Not move. I let the screen dim and then tapped it awake again, keeping the freeze notice visible as if that changed a thing. The kitchen clock said 7:41 p.m., but the light outside had already turned the pasture to tin. I set the phone on the table and opened the bank app. The same hold-in-place banner blinked like a hazard light you can't switch off. The phone rang. Bank services. I swiped. A recorded voice spilled out, syrupy and empty. We are experiencing higher than normal call volume. Your estimated wait time is... Click. Dead air. Tinny hold music ghosted the room for half a second after the cut. I stared at the old CB microphone hanging by the back door, cord looped twice and unplugged. Voice available, withheld. Alone at my own table, but I'm still at the table. The screen lit again. Loan officer this time, not a bot. Mr. Walker, she said, voice carefully polite. I'm calling with an update. Go ahead. Unsuccessful, a review is extending into tomorrow morning. Into September 1st, I said. My renewal's at 9 a.m. Timing is tight. Under policy, we can't release funds or make renewal determinations while a hold is active. Why is there a hold? I kept my tone flat. Subsequent signals. Vent expenditures. A public narrative that suggests potential relationship conflict. Revenge. You're citing a Post, I said. I'm citing risk signals, she replied. I'll call you the moment I have clearance. Kabul, I said. Please note I requested supervisor review tonight. I'll annotate your file. Annotations don't lift holds, I said. I silence. Then, end of day tomorrow. We ended the call. The yard hummed. A moth battered the porch screen with the stubborn rhythm of a small idea. I set the phone face down and then flipped it back up because I wasn't fooling anyone. The family group chat jumped to the top. Jason, just so everyone knows, Dad's been harassing vendors and trying to hijack the wedding with seats. Embarrassing. Cousin Mark, wow. Threatened. Maybe take this offline? Jason, transparency matters. Also, see you tomorrow. And 3 dots appear under Robert's name. Typing. They blinked, stopped, blinked again, then vanished. I typed a single line and let it sit before sending. Me. I paid the caterer and kept my mouth shut. That's not harassment. Jason, you stalked the service hall like a hall monitor. Trembling. Me. Laughs don't clear holds. Nothing came back for a beat, then a new bubble. Jason, our lender's also a guest tomorrow. Maybe keep your ledgers at home. Good, I said to the empty room. They can read. Headlights swept across the kitchen ceiling, 2 slow passes, and faded. I stepped onto the porch in time to catch the tail of Uncle Jim's pickup crest the hill. He didn't stop. The engine note dwindled like a promise that prefers the morning. My phone buzzed with a different tone. Robert, not tonight. Let me handle tomorrow. I typed, understood, and deleted it. If he wanted quiet, I'd leave him quiet. The loan officer pinged one more time with a terse text. Process note. Review continuing, status 8:30 to 9:30 a.m.
I added an alarm anyway and set 2 backups because alarms don't get to be indecisive. I filled a glass, took it to the porch rail, and looked at the field edge where the coffee weed meets the fence. The CB mic tapped the door once in the breeze, the smallest knock a house can make against itself. Back inside, I opened the calendar and punched the square that already glowed. September 1st, renewal 9 a.m.
The letters were plain as fence posts. I set 8:15 a.m. beneath it. Ride with Jim. The phone vibrated, a Jason side chat lighting up with laughing gifs, and a final poke. See you tomorrow. I scrolled to Robert's thread, typing. Appeared again, then died a second time. Left the phone on the table and pulled the chair out with a soft scrape. The house settled around me. I don't have to win tonight, I have to make morning honest. On the screen, the calendar square held steady while the group chat flashed. The porch light hummed. I watched Sept. 1, renewal, 9 a.m., glow, and below it, see you tomorrow, anchored to Jason's bubble, and under that typing, for Robert, 3 small rooms of light I could not make open. The bank clock over the glass wall slid from 9 to 9:02. The branch manager set a small tent outside the room. Conference in progress, 9:30. She closed the door with a soft seal. Penguin Friend's speaker microphone on the table chimed and the LED went green. Through the glass, 2 banker peers glanced over, then away, the sort of attention that pretends it isn't attention. Mr. Walker, the loan officer said crisp, we're here to address the review hold in your renewal at 9. Good, I said. Jason leaned back, ankle over knee. Bank theatrics, he said to the room. My dad's very into props. I kept my hand still. Charisma doesn't unfreeze accounts. Truth does. The manager nodded. We'll proceed in 3 steps. 1, third-party certification of the recording. 2, moral witness context. 3, any single corroborating cue you wish to show. Then we decide whether to lift the hold pending final clearance. She tapped the speaker mic. Miss Ruiz, you're on. Sienna's voice came clear, the kind of professional steady that carries farther than volume. Sienna Ruiz, licensed videographer. I captured continuous audio-video of the groom's remarks between approximately 7:10 and 7:20 p.m. on August 26. I executed a notarized affidavit yesterday. Commission number is on the seal. I can deliver a watermark still upon final delivery. Aid the loan officer. For our purposes, is the audio intelligible and unaltered? Silence, yes, Sienna said. Clean capture. Red tally light remained on. Jason exhaled a laugh. Are we really? The manager said, neutral but firm. Sienna finished. If counsel needs to verify, I will present original media for inspection. Najer, said the Mart Anderson. Mr. Anderson? Robert reached forward, palm open. Permission to use the mic, he said. The manager nodded. The light stayed green. Robert didn't clear his throat. He didn't need to. 25 years ago, he said, my business was a week from collapse. A farmer mortgaged his land to extend us feed on credit. That farmer is Edward Walker. He let the words settle. He didn't ask for interest. He asked for survival. We survived. You can confirm my letterhead and signature from that time. Jason stared at the tabletop. Robert looked at him, not unkind. A son may think a father's work is small if he's never done it, but our fortunes rode on his risk. Respect is owed. He folded his hands. That's all. I didn't need the room quiet, I needed it honest. The manager turned to me. One corroborating cue, Mr. Walker. Lifted my phone, already on the photo. No scroll, no numbers. I angled the screen so the timestamp, 9:42 p.m., filled the glass. Bar receipt time, I said. This anchors a segment of the recording where the jokes were still coming. The loan officer leaned in enough to read the time and then sat back. Understood. Subject lines regarding payment were previously noted in your file. A grin, and didn't find one. You're all reading tea leaves. Robert's eyes didn't move. They're reading receipts. Mr. Walker, the manager said to me, do you intend a speech here or an action? An action, I said. Lift the hold while you finish verification. Jason's jaw went tight. This is my wedding being dragged into by you, our manager looked to the loan officer. Risk posture? With the affidavit and witness statement, plus the corroborating time anchor, I recommend restoring. It didn't need to be. I mocked you in front of everyone who mattered. I shouldn't have. I didn't understand. Silence. Through the glass, one of the banker peers lowered his eyes. Uncle Jim's finger tapped the tabletop once, 2 lines. I gave him one nod and let the apology stand naked a full count. The manager looked to the loan officer. Proceed. The officer typed, screen glow on her cheek. Reactivating access pending verification, she said. You'll see functionality return within minutes. We'll close the review on receipt of Ms. Ruiz's deliverables. Shoulders dropped. Can I say? He stopped, looked at Robert, then at me. I was wrong. Ambiguous, the maybe record, the manager said almost gently. I set the phone down, the bank clock slid to 9:18. For the first time all week, the minute hand felt like a gate, swinging open instead of closed. The manager folded her hands. Mr. Walker, you'll receive written confirmation by noon. For now, we're restored. I nodded once. Thank you. Across the line, Sienna said, I'll send the still after delivery. Robert closed his eyes a heartbeat, then looked at Jason and didn't look away. The green LED stayed steady. The room didn't cheer. It didn't need to. The machine did the only sound that mattered, a quiet confirmation chime as the account screen refreshed. The bank clock in the lobby read 11:50 a.m. Sun striped the conference table through the glass. The speaker mic from this morning sat quiet between us, like a tool cooling after work. We'll issue written confirmation before noon, the loan officer said. You'll see access reflected in-app. Monitoring continues while Miss Ruiz's deliverable comes in. Understood, I said. Sienna buzzed in on the line. Quick status, cut is rendering. I'll deliver this afternoon, then send the watermark still. Just confirming we're aligned. As we are, said the branch manager. Thank you. She stepped to the door, lifted the small conference in progress tent, and removed it to a side credenza. Decision phase is complete, she said. We're in follow-through. Chung to Jason. 2 actions, I said. First, delete your post and replace it with a correction. Name what happened and what you regret. Second, call the caterer, apologize and thank them for working with me. Start now. Whoels, he looked at Robert, then back at me. What do I say exactly? Start with the truth, I said, then keep going. Uffel breathed in, nodded once. Okay. He pulled out his phone. Stabilized Laugh's laptop chimed. She glanced at her screen, then at the loan officer. Confirmation is queued. My phone vibrated. On the lock screen, an email slid into view. I opened it so only one cue filled the glass. Subject, review cleared, access restored, renewal proceeding with timestamp 11:57 a.m. I let the header sit a beat, the way you set a brand to the hide and count, then lowered the phone. Justice is a signature, not a speech. Received, I said. I thumbed it into a folder marked bank, renewal, then closed the paper folder on the table as if the motion could teach the day to finish well. The loan officer nodded. We'll maintain normal thresholds. Any anomalies will prompt a call. Otherwise, we expect to close verification on receipt of Ms. Ruiz's still. Good, I said. Jason held the phone to his ear. Hi, Marianne. This is Jason Walker. He swallowed. I mocked my father at my wedding and used your work as a punchline. He paid your invoice. I'm sorry. Thank you for taking care of us. He listened, eyes going wet and clear at the same time. Yes, I'll put that in writing. She said she appreciated the honesty. He said, voice smaller, and that the team saw how you behaved in the quarter. I nodded once. Good. Robert leaned forward. Your correction post, he said softly. Use your own words. If you want mine, respect is owed, borrow it. Jason opened the app, thumb hovering then moving. Deleting, posting correction, he said aloud. Like a man reading back figures so he doesn't cheat. He turned the screen toward the table for a second, not to prove but to include. Commentario's tamper tapped the speaker mic mute. Its LED flipped red. Business concluded, she said. We appreciate everyone's professionalism. Uncle Jim rose, chair legs whispering the carpet. 2 lines, he murmured, just for me. I nodded. He grinned at the red light. Right tool for the right job. Sienna texted across the thread. Still on track, ping me if you need phrasing on the post. I replied, all set. Thank you, no attachments, no leaks. Helicopters' formalities took their coats. Outside the glass, the lobby clock walked toward 12, like it had been told the truth and decided to keep time again. At the doorway, Jason stopped. Dad? He didn't finish the sentence. Instead, he opened his contacts and found Marianne again. The speaker mic sat red. Not ours anymore. Kong, I stepped into the hallway. Start with the truth, I said over my shoulder, then keep going. He nodded, thumb already on dial. I filed the confirmation email into its folder and pressed the paper folder shut with my palm until the spine clicked soft and sure. By noon, the panic had settled into a simple fact. Patience, paper, and witnesses outlast noise. My son met my eyes and found the weight of respect. I answered with 2 lines, no victory dance. I never needed the microphone, only the record. I close the folder and the conference mic gives a soft click as its light turns red. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1